week. Competition was fierce. Some teams surprised us, while league favorites came up short. So I want to know, is the division this tight, or were there some, first week jitters? Clint, what do you think?
Oh, God. I think it's a little bit of both, but I get the jitter argument. I'm not sure jitter is the right word, but we saw a similar hangover type thing after Anaheim from a team like Red Reserve. Red go into Division A. They think, hey, we're going to dominate. They have a lot of tough series. And does that play to the competition level? Yes, but it also just plays to them playing down to the competition, not playing to their potential. And I think we saw that with some of the top teams in your Rise, your OpTic Gaming, just not coming in, maybe totally prepared or just not playing on form. And I know sometimes it's tough when you go from a major open tournament to playing here for the Pro League. It's a different atmosphere. It's maybe tough to get fired up, but you got to do it if you're the top teams in the world. So for me, I view it as, I think more teams, like the top teams, just not playing how they needed to.
These are the top teams, though. Like from Anaheim, the top 8 teams, 6 of them are in this division, and some of the guys in the middle of the pack weren't even in that top 8 margin. Like, it's Tainted Minds and Mind Freak that cracked the top 8, not Complexity, not eUnited. Like, how much tougher does the competition need to get when your bottom 2 teams, who are barely winning series, are actually now, like, coming up in contention and starting to steal maps, steal more series? Tainted Minds upset OpTic. It's because they got better from their first 2 weeks in the Pro League. These teams are just getting good. The competition in this division is vastly superior to what we saw from Division A.
Well, Chance, I 100% agree. I mean, I was the guy last week that made the argument that I thought the APAC teams with their top 8 performances would carry that in. They had a chance to steal some games. I get that, but I think a big part of it, too, is just some embarrassing performances from teams that should be dominating. But yeah, I agree with your point as well. It's just, it's a mixture of both in my eyes.
Yeah, I think so as well, guys. I mean, you look at the side of like Rise and OpTic, they had a couple of week break after Anaheim. They placed very well. Their Rise, obviously the winners, they're on top of the world. They don't have much to focus on. Maybe this was a bit of a wake-up call for them. But as Chance said, you have top 6 of the top 8 from Anaheim. Plus, you have Mind Freak and Tainted Minds, who, we're at the bottom, and they're playing so well, as we saw in the previous week. But yeah, agree with both of you. I'm going to give you both 1 point. It's just the introduction.
Thank you, Joe.
But now it's time. Let's move on to Quickscope. All right, here we go in the Quickscope. The one thing I was surprised by is nobody mentioned Rise Nation on that introduction. On our last episode, Ben said, Rise, and I quote, nothing to worry about. It was going to be easy for them. Yet, they've taken some hits this week, being put to the test by Tainted Minds, getting reverse swept by eUnited, then getting blown out of the water by Complexity. Are we seeing the fall of Rise, or is Looney in the game just having an off week? Chance, what do you think?
Definitely an off week, but I'm still very, very concerned for the team. Like, if you go into a week and you take the 2 Australian teams to a Game 5 and your other 2 games are just straight-up losses, that's cause for concern. If you're losing more hard points these 2 weeks than you have pretty much ever, if you're losing more CTFs and searches, they're losing more in all 3 game modes. And then, of course, overall, their CTF really has never been overwhelmingly great, always solid, but now it's the point where they're below average. And then you think of, like, their S&D, which has been their backbone, what every single team, like all of them, even guys in open bracket, are studying them, learning their strategies, figuring out what to do, because they've always been in the grand finals.
Yeah, why would you
Everyone's been taking notes. Like, you have to take notes on this team, and it seems like teams are starting to crack the code a little bit, going toe-to-toe more, having closer rounds. Are Rise tough to beat? Yes. But there's a lot of great juggernauts coming in the wings. There's rosters that got formed at Anaheim that we haven't seen the full potential of. Come playoffs, come champs, they're going to be at their best. And, well, Rise Nation is good, but they need to be worried with the performances they've been having.
Rise Nation don't need to be worried at all. I mean, your opening point for the first topic was basically the competition level. So I'm not surprised teams are playing them tougher for many reasons that you were talking about, but they are fine. Chance, who would be your favorite to win Stage 2 playoffs?
Stage 2 playoffs? At the moment, I would say Rise. But
Chance, who would be your favorite to win champs right now?
Champs, it depends on playoffs. Who knows at that point? There's too many
good teams. Right now, if you had to pick, right now.
If I had to pick, I wouldn't pick. There's no point in picking because we don't know.
You'd say Rise, Chance. You'd say Rise. My point is, until they're not my favorite, Rise Nation are fine. And I know it was a bit of an off week, bit of a weird week, but this team is going to be totally fine. They're way too stacked. There's way too much talent. And I know there's been some hiccups along the way, but if anything, losing is learning. Being challenged right now might really help Rise Nation in the long run realize some of their flaws. These deep series, these 5-game series, might be more beneficial to them come Stage 2 playoffs and champs. If they just came out here and 3-0 bopped everyone, that could actually maybe hurt them in the long run. Maybe they don't learn from those series. I think overall, Rise are totally fine. They're still my favorites throughout the remainder of the year. Settle it down, Chance.
What are they learning, though? Like, what do they have to learn at this point? They've been the team that's teaching everybody else, and you say, like, too talented to fail or too much talent on the team, but how about OpTic Gaming, for example? A new roster that's formed that toe-to-toe has maybe more talent than Rise Nation, like Crim6 versus Looney. Let's be realistic. Scump versus TJ. TJ at the beginning of the year, I'll give it to him, but we expect, like, Scump of all people to return to
OpTic your back-to-back champs?
And then the ARs are
OpTic your back-to-back champs?
We haven't seen them. We got to see him play Rise again.
Can they get there?
Yes, they look shaky in Search, but if they clean up the Search, their Respawn has looked like the best team in the game. Yes, they've had shaky maps, but again, we're talking about them getting better. They didn't have the greatest of Anaheims. They couldn't. They're a new roster. Other teams have been playing for longer, but they're getting that form, and that's why for playoffs, yes, Rise Nation's still the favorite. There's no question about that. Best team in the game. But the question was, do they need to be concerned? And the answer, especially with the performances they just had, absolutely yes.
All right, I like that. I think both of you brought a lot to the table there. For Chance, I think, yeah, it's time. Yeah, be a little bit concerned. You didn't play the toughest competition. Teams might be catching up. The one thing I'll say, you brought up OpTic Gaming, but even the last roster, you could probably argue had more talent. What was the one game mode that always plagued them? Search and destroy, and it's why they forced a roster change. That's why you have a brand new OpTic Gaming. Side of Maven, yes, I agree with you. It's a bit of a hangover from Anaheim. They come into this week maybe a little lackluster. If there is a time to struggle, it is right now. It's time to wake up, Rise Nation, because this week was pathetic. So in terms of points, I'm going to give 1 point to Maven because you said a chance. Rise still the favorites to win Stage 2. But this week coming up is a big one. We'll see if Rise can step up to the competition. Earlier in the season, Sensor claimed that he would be winning champs. Caught a lot of people off guard, but if you know Sensor, you're not surprised by that due to his confidence. After Complexity showing this week, there may be some truth to that prediction. A little bit. Do they have what it takes to win champs, or was Doug Martin just blowing hot air? Clint, you're up. What do you think? Can't wait to hear this.
Enough hot air to fill a balloon. I'll tell you what, if Sensor wins champs, I will get a Doug and Yannette face tattooed on my back. I will get Sensor's name on my forehead and only cast in sleeveless shirts. Let's just take the champs argument out of it. They're not winning champs. There's no chance. It's not only Doug. It's just this team is not good enough to win champs. I'm going to refocus this to playoffs. Let's talk about, do they have a chance to actually make playoffs? They play what? Luminosity, Mindfreak, and eUnited. They'd have to win all three to get 8 and 6, which we think is kind of that magic number to get in with tiebreakers and whoever goes down.
Who knows?
I just don't think they can even do that, man. It's too tough. I know we saw a great team with that 3-0 over Rise, but Dashy had to go into backpack hard carry God mode. He'd have to do that in every single series this week, and we saw against a team like eUnited where he wasn't able to do that. There can be inconsistent results for his team, even for Dashy, who is a young god. I don't see him doing it. They're not winning champs. They're not getting top 4 to playoffs. Sorry, guys.
All right, well, Maven, you heard it there. He doesn't believe in Doug Sensor. Martin, Chance, do you?
No, that's it. So there's a couple key points about Sensor. He has the worst respawn KD in the league. He has the second worst S&D KD in the league.
Those aren't good.
And he's also least engaged on his team. He doesn't really play the objective either. He doesn't really accomplish much on the map ever. Maybe his communication is good, but for what Complexity as a team needs, their S&D is okay, even with having the second worst S&D player, like worse than Enable even, like at the moment on their team. They're still okay. They need respawns. Their hardpoint is underwhelming. Their CTF is bad. They need more kills on the map, and they have the worst Slayer in the entire Pro League on their team. So no, you can't win champs with that. You can't make playoffs with that. If you take a different player, let's think of someone that's not in the league, someone that's good. I don't know, like Karma. If you put Karma on this team, yes, then Complexity is in conversation to like, yeah, I think they could actually win champs. It would be a tough sell. I think they need to make some massive improvements.
Tough.
But that's the only, even then, even with the 3-time world champ, I'm not sold on Complexity to be able to do it. And now you're saying, can they do it with Sensor? No.
All right, well, you heard it here. Neither of our players believe in Complexity, but I'm going to give that point a chance because I love that he brought out the stats. Listen, when you talk about Complexity, it's always Blastful and Dashy. They have to go off, and even the maps that they play, I feel like people are figuring out, hey, if we don't play them on RN Forest Hardpoint, if we don't play them on Fly Tower CTF, to give Dashy an opportunity to go off, if we play them on maps where the sub-players like Blastful and Sensor have to be consistent, we can beat them, and you saw that towards the end of the week. So Complexity, it's going to be tough for you to get the playoffs. It's going to be tougher. It's going to be near impossible for you to win champs. eUnited came out swinging this week, taking down Rise, eUnited, and giving OpTic a run for their money. Did Clayster and company find their mojo, or will they fizzle out before champs? Chance, what have you got for me?
I think eUnited's great. I think they're in a fantastic position to make playoffs, even to have maybe an event win potentially in the future as well. Like, think about what they need to do. Maybe get 2-2 split, worst case scenario, do even better. But they're playing the bottom 4 teams in this division, excluding themselves. So, yeah, I think they're in a phenomenal spot to at least qualify for playoffs. And I think they could potentially win playoffs. I think they could potentially win champs. I think they have the makings.
What?
The issue is, it's tough for them to get to the grand finals. They're a team where if they make it to the grand finals, I think they can win it.
Agree with
they're
that.
a team that's going to have problems that's actually getting there. Like, there's a lot of teams that can make to the grand finals, but I'm just like, no, they're not going to beat Rise. They're not going to beat whomever. But this is one team that I think is an exception. Like, they've reverse sweep Rise Nation twice. Granted, it's in Columbus, Ohio, but I believe they had the makings of, if they make it to the grand finals of either playoffs or champs, absolutely they can win. They're a fantastic team. Really, their respawns are great. They just got to fix their search, and their search isn't even that bad.
Okay, I'm not convinced yet. All right, now I did make the argument I thought eUnited would be top 4 last week. I want to play the other side of this, play devil's advocate, because I mentioned we talked all the time. They're hot and they're cold. They're Jekyll and Hyde. They're Two-Face. They play good teams well. They play the bad teams poor. They did great this week. They went 2-1, but I'm not yet convinced. When they struggled sometimes was against the lesser teams in the division. So let's take a look at their schedule. They play Mindfreak, Tatum Mines, Luminosity, and Complexity. Who do they lose to the first 2 weeks? LG and Complexity. And what did I say last week? Tatum Mines or Mindfreak, they are going to get one victory that is going to shape the top 4. I think LG and Complexity beat eUnited again, and Tatum Mines or Mindfreak, one of those teams beats eUnited. They don't make playoffs. I can see it happening because they play the top teams. And think about their position. In stage 1, their position was they were at like the bottom, and they had that crazy run. Remember, they started out slow. They go on that heroic run. That's what Clayster's known for. That's what eUnited's been known for. They haven't been in like this spot where they control their own destiny. They've always been fighting from behind, fighting from the loser's bracket, knockout in winners round 1, winners round 2. They haven't been in this position before where they control it. It's a different type of pressure. It's a different mentality. I think they might let it slide. And I know that goes against kind of what I thought last week, but I also think that if this happens, it makes everything a whole lot more interesting. So I'm rooting for a couple losses just so it gets spiced up in the middle.
I mean, I would agree with that because of eUnited inconsistency. If it wasn't for the fact that they're literally playing the bottom 4 teams in the division, some of which they already have wins against, it would require so many different things to fall in place. But a Complexity who what? The only game mode they're good in right now is search. Like, they're just going to get the hands and respawn. Like, again, you pointed out earlier when you talked about Complexity, that actually has to go off for there to even be a hope. And LG, their S&D record, I think, is what, like 4-10 at the moment in stage 2. They had success in Anaheim because they completely turned that around. Now they're back to their old ways. Can one of those teams pull the win over eUnited? Sure. Can both of them? Probably not. And then can one of the bottom 2 teams? It's even less likely.
I mean,
it's possible, but completely
they're in a good
improbable.
spot. I mean, they're what, 6-4 right now, so they basically need to go 2-2. So I'm saying they're going to get 3 losses, which I know is crazy, but I'm just trying to play the other side of this, and I hate that I could see it happening. Like, I don't want this 1 week to be all that I think about. This entire year, this eUnited team, we weren't sure what we were going to get from one day to the next. I think at some point in this final week, that's going to pop up again. And if it doesn't, I will be a believer that they can make a run to win an event. But until I see consistent results, I'm not a believer. And I can't just take these 3 matches this week, and it doesn't turn me around the entire way. It doesn't.
Here is the problem for me. I have to agree with Chance, so I'm going to
Get out of here, Joe,
and give him the point. Listen,
I'm casting with Revan
is
from now on.
eUnited gonna? Yeah, sure. All right. Is eUnited? Are they gonna lose 3 matches to Complexity, Mindfreak, and Tatum Mines? Like, maybe you give them a loss to Luminosity, and that's big for LG because they hold the tiebreaker over them if it comes down to that. But the way LG looked, or not LG, the way eUnited looked, the way they handled business this week, the tough part is done for them. They just have to bring the intensity. If they aren't lackadaisical this week, they should be fine.
Hey, Joe,
they should make playoffs.
Has eUnited strung together 2 good weeks of play this entire year?
They have not. But now is the time
it's going to be interesting. Here we go.
It is going to be a great last week, and I'm so excited about it. But the problem with me is they are at 6-4 right now. They have the tough part out of the way. They just need to focus on up and play to the best of their ability. It's now time for our last segment, the last chance to score some points. It's time for the grand finals. As we discussed, this week has been wild. Upsets, comebacks, reverse sweeps, you name it, it was there. So with the division so up in the air, let's hear it, boys. Who do we think is making top 4? Clint, what's in that beautiful bald head of yours? You're going to start this one off.
Chance, many would call you a realist. You rely on stats and facts.
He's going to bring out the gut.
And sense.
Yeah.
Many call me a dreamer. I rely on my feelings, emotions, rainbows.
Where has that gotten you?
Couple weeks back.
Are you out of breath?
I said that FaZe was going to. I'm very emotional right now.
Okay.
I said FaZe was going to make the run. EG was going to fall out. It was a bold prediction at the time. It was ludicrous, but what happened? FaZe did it. My top 4 are going to be Rise, OpTic, eUnited, and LG. I'm doubling down on LG. Now, I had to pivot a little bit in this because I thought it was going to be eUnited out and eUnited in. But now I have to pivot because how it works. Because eUnited have 7 wins. They play LG, Complexity, Mindfreak, Tana Minds. They would basically have to lose all 4 because if they're both tied at 8 and 6, they beat LG both times. So they hold the head-to-head. So it has to fall to eUnited. eUnited have to go 2 and 2 or 1 and 3 to give an opening here for LG to make a play. So LG play Rise, OG, EU, Complexity.
Go ahead, repeat that.
Rise,
say that for
OpTic,
the front, man.
eUnited, Complexity.
And they have to go 3 and 1.
Grueling schedule. It is a grueling schedule. It's like basically like trying to spend 3 hours in the green room with Rich. It is hard, so tough. But again, I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer, boys. I have a feeling LG are going to do it. They're going to win out. They're going to get in. Or they lose 1, tie 8 and 6 with eUnited, and they get in on the tiebreaker there. They're going to do it, Chance. You cannot tell me otherwise.
I can't tell you otherwise. The only thing I heard you say is, I like formal. I think formal's going to make play.
It's nothing to do with that.
You literally set the scene of like they have a ridiculous scenario where they play the toughest competition and they need all of these things to go their way. The only thing that makes sense to say is that almost certainly the top 4 are going to make it out. That is the current top 4. It's just because of their strength of schedule. Like if you think 8 is that magic number, 2 teams already have that. eUnited has 4 matches. eUnited has been that good. And then eUnited, they've done the hard work. Bottom 4 teams in the division, they have to win 2 for the guarantee, and then the tiebreakers get weird. But like you picked LG, it would have made more sense to pick Complexity to even have like a better run than LG. Because Complexity has easier competition to play. They don't have to face OpTic, they don't have to face Rise. It would be easier for Complexity. Even with Sensor on their team, it would be easier for Complexity than it is for LG.
I've been compared to many famous philosophers in my day.
How many famous philosophers can you name?
Scientists in my day. Nostradamus. Was he a scientist or a philosopher?
He was neither.
Perfect. This is what's going to happen. eUnited are going to go 1 and 3. LG are going to go 3 and 1.
Maybe, do you know how many predictions Nostradamus got wrong? He was awful.
They're both going to tie at 8 and 6. Head-to-head goes to LG. LG and eUnited out. Just watch it play out, Chance. You'll be sitting here twiddling your thumbs, texting your best friend, Revan, your lookalike twin.
Maven, do you know what like the map score was between eUnited and LG the first time they played?
It was a reverse sweep for LG, 3-2. Get that out of my house.
Right, and if it's a game 5, that means the tiebreaker is going to be more difficult.
LG's going to 3-0. LG's going to 3-0.
Nah.
3-0 LG.
All right, so you heard what our players are going for. Maven believes in Luminosity. Chance, yeah, he plays by the rules, plays by the stats. So let's break it down here from my point of view. Do I believe LG?
I'm an idiot. I get it, okay, Joe?
Hold on. Do I believe LG can beat Rise, OpTic, eUnited, and Complexity all in a series during this week? Absolutely. Can they go 4-0? Sure. But that would put them at, what, 9 and 5?
Well, if they went out, they're good. They went out, I think they're good.
You think they're good? The problem is I don't know if they are, because then eUnited would have to go, what, at a minimum 3 and 1, which also put them at a 9 and 5. And then as Chance said, if it goes to a game 5, there's just too many tiebreakers for me right now, and I have to agree with Chance. I think the top 4.
Go with my heart, my gut. I'm right 20% of the time.
Listen, the difference is when you were arguing against EG had a tough schedule. They had to play 3 very difficult teams that, yeah, you could argue Envy would beat them. Some other teams would beat them. Absolutely.
Hey, Joe, does eUnited play better against good teams or bad teams?
It doesn't matter. They know what's on the line. So the championship point, the grand final point, is going to go to Chance. He's going to win here again. And it's just due to the schedules. I believe in Luminosity.
This is rigged. Chance
I believe in the talent on Luminosity. But the schedule is stacked up against them. They lost to eUnited at the beginning of last week, and that is where they're going to go on home. If they were at 6 and 4, I could get it, but they're not. They're at 5 and 5. The first 2 weeks just hurt LG too bad, and they don't have that tiebreaker against eUnited. So Chance is our winner. All right, fellas, it's time. Strap on your A40 Astro Gaming headsets, and since Chance won, you get to put on the special edition Trading Shots A40 TR headset. With that, it's time for the Smack Talk Winner's Circle presented by Astro Gaming. Chance, take it away.
I think everyone sucks at search and destroy, like all of the teams. Well, almost all of them. There are a few exceptions to this, but I think we have seen categorically just a failure of capitalizing on situations. And like a lot of pros, I've even seen, like Aches is a good example, talking about how like it's a coin flip who's going to win. So many round 11, so much close competition. But I think there's a couple solid arguments about like, not too much creativity in the search and destroy tiles. Like you have to play against the top teams a certain regimented way, but they don't capitalize on good situations, like trying to get score streaks. There's situations where eUnited in a 4v1, they just kill the last guy instead of letting the bomb explode or let the right guy get the kill and feed streaks to the right person. OpTic had a 2v1 where Scump's working on some score streaks, but Octane just takes the kill from him in unnecessary situations. Every single team, again, with a couple exceptions, Red Reserve is very good at this. They don't try in these S&D games. They care about the rounds, and yes, that makes perfect sense. You obviously want to get the round wins, but if you want to start blowing teams out of the water, and with how tight competition has been, you got to take it to the next level. Like, take it like thoroughly through the game. We see occasionally in CTF where you see the team kill to get the flag, to get the extra points, but there's so many situations where that opportunity is there and teams don't take it. You got to be next level, coming into playoffs, going into champs. You have to fine-tune your gameplay, and so many games could have been won 6-2, 6-3, or even just like, how many teams or times did teams choke when they could have gotten streaks early? There's so many missed opportunities from every single team I've seen, and teams don't scrim S&D. It seems like they don't take it seriously, and with how much money on the line, it blows my mind. And yes, there's arguments to be made from either side, but I think it's insanity. I think it's ridiculous. I think there's a few teams that are an exception to this, but by and large, we're just average as a community at S&D, and it infuriates me.
Wow, that was touching. Chance, he just called out the entire CWL Pro League. I loved it.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to trash talk Maven and Ben. I mean, Chance is 3-0 on the show. Instead, he goes right at the throats of the teams. But it was a wonderful episode. Shots were traded. NCWL was debated. We'll see you next week.